Most of us are here and most of us are passionate about sustainable design because we love our mama. Right? We love this big spinning ball of blue and green, and we want to keep it spinning, and we want to keep it green, and we want to keep it blue, and we want to keep the blue parts where they're supposed to be. Right? Now don't boo me off the stage when I tell you that my mama is not the reason I'm passionate about sustainable design. Okay? I'm passionate about sustainable design because of this. Sustainable design fights poverty. It's a bold claim, and nobody's talking about it. But I believe in it with all my heart, and I'm going to preach it until the day I die. Here's an even bolder claim. Sustainable design, fundamental sustainable design methods are the greatest weapon and tool we have to fight global poverty. So let me tell you a story. So I graduated with a construction management degree from Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, a school that I am very proud of. Now, when I came time for my 5th year thesis at Cal Poly, I was so done with school. I'd had enough. I had just spent a quarter of a century and had accomplished nothing for the world yet. I was ready to do something that mattered, right? So I decided that I was going to take kind of an unconventional approach to my senior thesis, and I was going to find a real project, and I was going to design it and build it for my thesis. And I love Cal Poly because they allowed me to pursue that path. Now, while I was in school, I was involved in the sustainable design movement. I got my lead AP as soon as I could, and I went to all the classes and seminars. But the thing that seemed so apparent to me about it was for the rich. All the sustainable methods were expensive. Getting that plaque on your building was expensive, and I wanted to find a way to prove that sustainable design was good for humanity. So I moved to Belize. I designed, engineered, and managed a project in Belize. Now, you hear about the white gringos that go try and save the world, right? And they move to developing countries and they're going to teach everybody how to do everything. Well, that was me, okay? I moved down there. I got real good at taking pictures of myself. I got even better at, trying to look tough and telling kids how to. This poor kid, man, he moved so many buckets of gravel. But I learned. The 4 months I learned that sustainable design was challenging, that humanitarian design was challenging. I became humble to an extreme level, right? And the other thing that I was passionate about was trying to prove this point that sustainable design can fight poverty. So as I got to know the people that I was working with, let me give you a little side note here, how ignorant I was when I moved down there. I hired 30 people to run my construction crew. About half of them were Mayans. When I moved down there, I thought the Mayans were extinct, all right? So I was pretty ignorant. I moved down there, right? So I started talking to my crew, and I started asking them, I knew how much they were getting paid, how much money do you make, and what do you spend it on? And this is what I learned. 60% of them spent their entire income on utilities, and in some cases it was 100%, right? They're talking cell phone bills, they're talking fuel, they're talking, various different things, but the main one was electricity. So then I asked them, what are you spending, or what are you using electricity for? They said our fans, our air conditioning units, and our lights, right? You see, part of this is our fault. This is how the developing world used to build their homes. And then us and our colonial ancestors moved down there, and we did this to them. We started planting them like agriculture down an electrical grid. Have you guys ever been in one of these? These are like ovens, all right? This is not sustainable design. 2 days ago, I was here. This is a township in South Africa called Kayamandi. And I was with this guy. His name is Kwenga. And it's the exact same here. They spend their money on utilities, all of it. So back to the story. So I moved to Belize. I built these projects. And what I learned was sustainable design can fight poverty. And I learned that my whole world had kind of been turned upside down by this. So what I decided to do is I was going to start a nonprofit. I was going to start what's called Journeyman International. And what I wanted to do was create a business that could be business savvy, right? Nonprofits are typically not business savvy. I wanted to create something that was business savvy. So I decided, why can't other students working on their thesis go out and work on a real project? And so I asked people in the industry, is this possible? And they said, no, you can't use students. You got intellectual property issues, you've got liability issues, you've got all kinds of issues. They don't have the experience to pull it off. And I said, screw that, I'm going to try it. I think it will work. And I can stand before you proudly now and say over the past 6 years, we've designed over 30 humanitarian projects in 20 countries, as you see here. My team has traveled around the world. We've had all kinds of students. We've immersed ourselves in the cultures. We've butchered and eaten cow testicles. As you can see, this girl on the right, she thinks it's pretty gross. We've had the most unusual meetings. We've learned to belly dance with the mothers. We fixed water pumps in Zimbabwe. This was at a blind school in Tibet at 16,000 vertical feet elevation. When I took this picture, I could hardly breathe. We've been attacked by who knows how many kids. We've clothed orphans in Mexico. We hung out with some gangsters in Mexico, which was not a good idea. We actually have one student who is royalty by the Kingdom of Cameroon because of a trip he took, and the king said, you have to design my palace and all this. But what I love most about what we have going on here is our students pour their hearts and souls into these projects. Over the past 6 years, we've designed and built a dental clinic in Belize, orphanage in Mexico, library in Rwanda. Right now, we have 40 women working on a hospital in Ethiopia, and a whole bunch of other projects that are going. So by now, you're probably wondering, okay, this sounds great, cool, but how does this work? Tell me about your business model. Okay, I will. So the Journeyman International team, what we do is we search the world for humanitarian projects. Then we find some of the top design, engineering, construction management students in the country, and we pair it with them to work on for their thesis, right? Raise your hand if you worked on a thesis when you were in school. For the most part, your thesis probably you got a grade and then it went away. Maybe you got published, but it didn't amount to anything. These students are working on something real. Right? Then it goes to professionals who review and critique and perfect these, both in the United States and in the country that they're working in. We provide our humanitarian partners with detailed funding proposals and all kinds of other stuff, construction drawings. We actually send project managers into the field, and our humanitarian partners actually own and operate these facilities. So this kind of gives you a brief picture at how powerful the model is. The students, this chart shows you how much time they spend on the project. So on the left, the students pour their heart and soul for over 2,000 hours on these projects. On the right is kind of the traditional process based upon the design projects that I've worked on. This pie chart shows you kind of the typical itemized construction costs, right? And this purple triangle here is your soft costs. Typically on a project, it's 20 to 30% of a project is your soft costs. With Journeyman International, we provide a better, I'm not going to say a better product, but a very quality product, more time, and we're able to provide this on these projects for very, very cheap. So this is my team. These are my architecture students. If you can read this, you can see the projects that they're working on around the world. And they also have engineering students and construction management students that work with them. So what is the product that these students create? They spend hundreds of hours working on design and construction proposals. They create full construction drawings, and then we send them professionals like you guys to review and critique them. But the most valuable product that I've found from Journeyman International is not what they produce. It's these students in and of themselves. What we are creating is basically a team of passionate humanitarians that want to go out and design a more sustainable world. I'll give you a couple examples. This guy, Ismail El Kazmi, he's from Morocco. He goes to school in France. He's on an exchange program to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. He's doing an internship with Journeyman International. I took him down to Nicaragua, where as a Muslim, he's designing a Christian camp for Young Life, right? And he came to me the other day and he says, Daniel, I want to go back to Morocco and I want to start a Journeyman International program. This guy, Kyle Rogers, he and I just got back from Africa, like today, and on the flight back home, he looks at me and he says, Daniel, the world is a much different place than I thought it was, right? He's passionate about doing this kind of work. We had a student last year who graduated from our program who's one of the best designers I've ever seen, and he had job offers coming out of his ears. And he decided he wanted to build low-income housing down in San Diego. And I asked him why. And he said, I just decided I don't think I really want to build big fancy buildings for rich people. I want to do something that matters, right? So what is our goal? Our goal is to give every university student the opportunity to work on a real humanitarian project for their thesis. And I want to give them the framework to do that. Now, I don't have the resources right now to pull that off, but what I do have is the know-how to do it. And we have a business model that works, and we're pulling it off, and we're going to tackle it piece by piece. And I want every one of you to have the opportunity to be part of our team, whether that's reviewing projects or traveling with our students or getting your firms to sponsor our projects. We have the opportunity to do something really, really special here. So at the beginning, I asked you what you're passionate about with humanitarian design. For me, it's definitely this. And I would just implore that you think about this as you go out into the world, because the brains in this building are shaping the sustainability industry. Think about this when you're out there. And don't forget about Kwanga and his township in South Africa. Thank you very much.